right, everyone. Welcome. It's Monday. Truth Seekers in the house. I want to welcome you, and hopefully you had a great weekend and you did some great things. There was a lot of great weather here in Dallas, Texas, and so I got out and had an opportunity to visit a few parks this past weekend and do some things. But having said that, while I was at the park, I talked to a few people, and I'm starting to get that, you know what, depending on where you are, a lot of people are not hearing about these UFOs. And I'm saying that now that everybody is talking about them. Everyone is talking about UFOs all over the place, except in some areas that I think we should be talking about it, which is my community. We'll get into that later on. But the first thing about it is, why are we having so much conversations in the places that we are having these conversations? And we'll talk about that right now and hop right into it, because now they're trying to make this thing what I call normal. Let's just say it like that. The big secret keepers are trying to make this UFO topic stuff normal. And I don't think they can pull it off, or maybe they are pulling it off, because a lot of people are just going about their daily business when now we're talking about UFOs every single moment. If you would think about it, a few years ago, people would be just scattered. They'd be like, what? UFOs? What? Now you can walk up to somebody and say, UFOs are real. And they go, yeah, I heard about it. And they just keep on with their day. And maybe that is a plan. That's an action plan to get people a little, bring down a notch a little bit so they can slide some things out in disclosure that we're not going to pay attention to. But like I said, we're going to cover a few things in the news. We're going to cover a few things that we talked about in the past, and we'll cover a few things that I think we need to, double back on. For instance, the people that's in Vegas. If you remember, they said there was a UFO crashed in their backyard. They saw the aliens. Well, not long ago, they now put out a sketch of what it looked like. And I have it here. We're going to talk about that. And I'm like, man, we're still having this conversation, and they're still trying to prove themselves right now. And nobody's really paying attention to them. And the question is why? Why do these people still have to go out and prove themselves? Are people still approaching them? Are their names are in somebody's mouth? Do they need to turn around and say, get our name out your mouth? I don't know. Maybe they need to pull a Will Smith type thing, but they're still talking. And the question is why. We already talked about, the Peru stuff in the past, about those people seeing aliens there. We talked about Mexico, coming up with these bodies that we saw, but most of us know those things been around a long time. And I'm still to the point of saying, hey, they may not be extraterrestrials from outer space. They could be some life form that's here on Earth that we hadn't seen in a while, right? And so not everything is extraterrestrial, or should I say from outer space, when it could be here as well. We still hear stories out in these war zones where people are still reporting seeing giants out there in the deserts. We're still, and I'm just throwing a lot of this stuff out here right now because the conversation is everywhere. It's everywhere. And like I said, there was a time that it wasn't something that we're going to be talking about. One of the articles that I have here, which came out in the last couple of days, was the Pentagon announcing their long-awaited UFO reporting form that people can report. Now, this has been something that's been a delay for quite some time. Now, of course, this past Tuesday, they unveiled a new secure form that service members and government employees can use to report unidentified aerial phenomena to the government office. Now, I'm going to get into this a little more, but here's my thing. I'm a little iffy about that already, because they didn't open it up to the public, the people, the truth seekers, people like yourself. And the question is why? And that's because they don't want to answer to the public when it comes down to these stories. Now, of course, this thing is set up for unclassified type information. And okay, what the hell? All of it should be unclassified. But at the end of the day, this thing is open for people to report UFOs. Now, again, it's not open to the public. So what that tells me is, if it's somebody who's in the former military, if it's somebody in current military, or any one of the branches, they still have to follow what's going on with some of these people, right? They still got to follow um, the orders from the generals and the upper echelon in the military, or they can be threatened with their pensions. They could be threatened if something, what I call lucrative, shows across their desk. So again, I think it's another scapegoat that they're putting out there for us to think, okay, fine, we're getting behind this thing. But once again, it's it. Sonya from the news said, I call BS when it comes to the Pentagon. Yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm saying now. I think it's one of those things that we would have to look into, but then not get too happy about when we see that they're supposed to be making some type of progress here, when basically I think they're just still pulling the wool over our eyes. Now, they're saying that the online forum would allow, like I said before, the current and former service members, employees, contractors, to share non-sensitive and unclassified information on past current sightings with the Pentagon, all domain anomaly resolution office. Okay. How do we want to classify something that could have been non-sensitive and as well as unclassified? All of it, right? I mean, what makes a UFO sighting classified anyway? What makes it, and that's the point that I would want to know, because if you're sitting there filling out that form and all of a sudden you're about to share something and they want to come back and tell you're not going to pass go, you're not going to collect $200, you're going to jail because you're spreading classified national security information and you have no clue of what it could be. Remember the guy down there in Dreamland, how they raided his place, his girlfriend's place, all simultaneously at the same time, pull her out in the streets, and she was wearing practically nothing, and they can care less. But that was the first test, I think, when they came down and said, hey, how can we go after the public when we're doing these things? Now, again, this is contractors, this is military personnel, this is former employees, and all of these. So therefore, the online form is going to be used a little different, but it's the public, right? It's us who are seeing these things more than anything. It is us who are reporting abductions. It is us, the public, who are reporting these sightings and strange anomalies and all of this stuff. So we're, again, now, okay, yeah, you're going to report to MUFON. You're going to report to the National UFO Agency, Peter. You can call a lot of other people there, but when it comes down to being official about what you're going to be talking about, they're not worrying about it. Now, Sean Kirkpatrick, the head of Apparel, maintained the information provided by this form will be protected, and any information given in a follow-up interview with Apparel officials. This is before he's supposed to get out of here now, right? Y'all know they're going to replace him. And I think that was one of the best moves they could have made, because I knew a long time ago when this guy was taking a witness stand and he was up here saying, oh, it's nothing to see here, folks. And I'm like, he got two choices he's going to make. He is testifying on Congress, right? He's testifying under oath, which is he can get, that card. He can pull a card, don't pass go, don't collect $200, go straight to jail if the problem happens. Or he got a get out of jail free card that he can use at any time, because he is lying, and he had to have had permission and say, hey, listen, if I'm going to go before Congress and tell them ain't nothing to see here, folks, y'all better protect me. And so he's about to leave, though. He's getting ousted, I think, in about a month. And so who's going to replace him? All right. Why is he being ousted? Well, for whatever reasons, I think that is a high stressful job. Not the fact of what he knows, not the fact of what he's seeing. It's a high stressful job because he has to sit there and lie and put his ASS abacus on the line at all times, right? And so those are one of the things. So, but anyway, once again, we understand that the members of the public are also interested in reporting these UFO sightings to Arrow. Kilpatrick once said, quote, and he said, we're exploring methods for how the public can do so in the forthcoming third phase of secure reporting mechanism. Okay, still secure reporting mechanism. For what? Who's hacking that? Oh, okay, well, I'm sure, because there's a lot of people out there, and I'll probably right with them and be like, yeah, get it. Go in there and get that information. That's going to be hacking these things to get it. But once again, where we're going to go with this tonight is I just want to talk about all these stuff that's happening. All the stuff that's happening everywhere. And then we're going to give some information on, I think there's a difference maybe between UFOs and UAPs. We're going to talk about that too. And maybe it is. Well, they seem to be trying to put it that way. And so why not? So another thing that we can get into is the fact that on a military level, okay, UFO sightings, this was earlier this year, UFO sightings happen more often near military airspace. Now, if one would think about that, you would think about, the omission of our own military, which I've already said it before, that we have the most fierce military on the planet. Okay. I don't think there's a country out there that has more technology or fierce weaponry than the United States of America. That's my opinion. And that's my opinion from working with having a secret clearance when I was in my 20s, okay, or 21 or whatever, but 18, 19, and 20. But here's the deal. This stuff that we have is no joke, but it also lands to the question of, do we want to tell American people, with all of this military might that we have, with all the sophistication of technology that we possess, is there something flying around that we couldn't protect you from? And I think this is where they really try to keep a hold to what's happening. And I'm talking about the big secret keepers, because you don't want the public to know that in spite of all the weaponry that we have, in spite of all the technology that we have, in spite of the Navy SEALs that we have, in spite of the swimming ducks that we have, in spite of the airplanes that can fly really fast and stealth and all of this stuff, in spite of all the missiles that we possess, we can't stop a UAP, right? Or UFO. They're moved too fast. They have technology that can outrun the wind almost. And so therefore, do you want, or would they want that type of information out to the public? Probably not. I would say not. And not to say I'm one of them, but I will probably be on their side if they called up and say, hey, Roderick, with High Strangeness Show, can you just keep it down a little bit and don't let everybody know that, we got UFO stuff coming in and out of water, transmedium technology, that we don't have things like that. And could you not tell your audience that, in spite of all this, magnificent, technological advanced aircraft that we have, nothing still can keep up with a UFO that's going from here to there in 2 seconds. Just don't tell them. And I probably wouldn't tell you. Too late. You already know. So where I'm going with this is the military is start to say that they're seeing a lot of these things. Now, that is a whole nother conversation to say, well, why? Because we can go back to history, and history tells us that we had a problem with them, going over our nuclear airspace or, bases and turning on and off our nuclear weapons. Somebody was trying to make a statement, maybe telling us not to use them, or maybe telling us, well, you got nothing. You ain't got nothing over here. Maybe that was their plan, but either way, it did enough for us to be worried about it and going, okay, fine, these people got that technology. So that is two sides of the fence. This is where we get into the Lou Elizondo side of things, where the threat narrative. And then on the other side, I'll use Dr. Stephen Greer for the peace narrative, right? And so therefore, they're turning off the weapons to tell us that, yeah, y'all don't need to use them. You can destroy the planet and all that. Stop it, stupid humans, and that could be the message. But over here on the threat narrative, they're saying, hey, we can turn it off. And if we want to kick some butt and we want to come over and whoop some of y'all, we can do that at will. And what you got, your very best weaponry, is not going to work there. So at this point, I think I will be a little more concerned with the threat narrative. You damn right! Because the threat narrative is the one that we want to really be concerned about, because that means that you're talking a lot of destruction, a lot of power, if they can decide that they can do anything that they want, when they want, and however that they want. And so therefore, I will side with the military and say, hey, we need to make sure we stay on top of this. Now, the problem with this is while we have our own United States airspace, these things can fly from one end of the world to the other end of the world within seconds. And so, therefore, they annihilate the boundaries when it comes down to airspace. And so, therefore, this is why you have multinational cooperation between all these countries that they would probably say, okay, we want to all get involved into this UFO or UAP phenomenon so that we can protect these people, right? Or get the information. I think, as we always said it, people are looking to see if they can get a hold to that weapon, because if anybody get the technology, any one of these countries besides us, and could say, okay, we're going to tie a weapon on something that can go and lights out. The landscape has changed. Power struggle is over and done. But anyway, the Houston, not Houston, but the history, I was going to talk about something in Houston. I'll get to that in a minute. I'll just put it over here to the side. Anyway, the history of UFO sightings in Project Blue Book, right? And so we're in, and still, they're still bringing up Project Blue Book, which they talk about all of the, where it was now at some point put in place to debunk a lot of stuff, but now it's a staple of information when it comes down to this phenomenon. But for decades, the Air Force or air traffic over the United States was largely limited to commercial and military vehicles with onboard human pilots. Now, other than that, other than flying machines, we got like those balloons they was talking about, uncrewed targeted drones. We use all these different type of technology. And this is why there's so much confusion when we see something that, is it man-made or is this something that is made within some other place and some other origin besides, this global Earth. And because there's just so much technology now and so many things that are flying around that we have no clue who made it, because now we got to think about, and as I'm going into a ramble here, we have to think about multinational corporations having their own crash retrievals, having their own, UFO studies. They have their own reverse engineering, parts of the company, because whoever gets the technology can build and dominate. And so therefore, it's not just our military that we are concerned with. Again, it is all of these other countries and companies and technology that everybody, whoever get there first, are going to be the one who gets it. Okay. Now, like I said, the title of the video was, we're talking about UFOs everywhere, and who else is talking about them right now, and everyone. And we still going to tailor into who is not talking about UFOs while everybody else is. And of course, you already know the answer to that, but we'll get to that and we'll talk about that. So another part of this is, once again, to understand what is happening and to understand that CNN, Fox News, News Nation, and the list goes on and on and on, that they have now been compelled to say, okay, we're ready to no longer take this storyline as some joke and quake, and quacks and stuff, kooks and quacks. There may be some legitimacy in the fact that, some of these sources that we have. All right. So over here, let's just put up here, we got our whistleblowers. Okay. Over here, we got our, private contractors. Over here, we got congressmen. Over here, we got the military. Down here, we got us truth seekers, the public. And then you got the cabals and whoever else up above that is running the show. Okay. Now, last week I did a video. If you haven't watched it, we was talking about the Galactic Federation and, why or what's their purpose. Are they here to protect us, or are they here to protect Earth? Because that is a big, significant difference when it comes down to an action plan. Do we care about the puny humans themselves as a collective, or are we worrying about the planet? We'll get back to that, but that was also part of the conversation, even as we look at now, who is the ultimate protector? And when it comes down to this, and of course, our government is trying to be the global protector, but I think there is a sham. I think their whole purpose is to get hold to the technology to form weaponry. Now, I know I'm gonna lose some people when I say this, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with our government want to be the advanced technology, or make sure that we have the best technology when it comes down to military weaponry. I'm not in close quarters. I'm not out there on a world landscape. I know there's some hideous things that's going on, but like I said before, there's some crazy folks out there, and there's some people who hate the ground here. And I walk this ground, right? And I don't have nothing. I didn't do nothing to them, but I do understand some gripes and things that they have, and therefore we want to protect ourselves from that. And if we can get alien tech to stay on top, then get that alien tech is all I'm trying to say. Now, let me go back to a story that we talked about in the past. We talked about the Las Vegas crash. You remember back several months back, the little boy reported that there was an extraterrestrial that crashed in their backyard. Y'all remember? This is the family today. This is not long ago. This is a few weeks ago. And what really amazes me, this particular picture, they was prepared for this one. Everybody's hair is done good. They're chilling, and pretty much. But in this thing, if you remember, this was one of the biggest stories out there. This was one of the biggest stories because this guy called 911, if you remember, and he was like, you know what, there's something in my backyard. You may not believe me, or whatever. And, he got ate alive, right? And ever since then, we still had other proofs of things happening. The Peru, and most people say that was not any truth in that. Mexico comes out and said, we want to go ahead and be the first to kind of get on top of this from a country standpoint, but we're going to show you some stuff that's been around since 2017. It's old news. The family, decided to still show better pictures of this ring. I can't tell you what that is, but supposedly this is the ring of whatever landed and fell in his backyard looks like. And at this point, I can't say how big that is. I can't get a scale on it. But maybe it's a small aircraft, and maybe it wasn't, but apparently whatever it was made an imprint in their yard. Once again, I'll show it. And so I can't really tell how big this is. Maybe it's 20 feet, 30 feet, maybe it's 15 feet around. I don't know. But they also released a photograph of here's what it looks like now. And now my challenge to this is, if you're going to use a sketch artist, come on, dude, we could have done something a little different, but maybe not. Maybe it's not necessary for them to draw some elaborate photograph, because what we see and what we get, it may be just a plain gray alien, like he said, with long arms, bipedal, 8'6", I think he said it was like 8 feet tall, that was in his backyard. And so the question is, why would a family which had so much going on back then still today stand behind a story that most people still think today that it was just made up? It was maybe a distraction from something else that the news was trying to hide from, and they just did it. Now, once again, like I said, it takes a lot for somebody to go stick their neck out there like that. And for that family to be doing that is a different story. And I don't think that it's not something that they just made up. I really don't. And so I still stand behind the fact that there could have been some truth in what they were doing. And I still will say that, judging by some of the other stories and stuff that's out there, it is safe to say that there's a whole bunch of species of extraterrestrials on the loose. So when you start talking about that crash site, whatever it is crashed, now the question is, what happened to the spaceship, right? Did it disappear? Was it cloaking? Did it get back up in the sky? Did it leave? Did somebody come pick it up? What happened to it? Because according to David Grush, if you remember, I'm just going over some of the stuff in the news, he reported that we have abandoned spacecraft. And of course, me personally, Y'all know my opinion on that is that if I woke up and I looked outside my house and there was a car that was sitting there fully capable of moving, but that bad boy was empty. Well, let me make it a little more spooky. I look in my backyard and there was a car or something parked in the backyard and the fence is still closed and but nobody's in it. Why my neighbors may be concerned of how. Remember, I tell you, how is never as important as why. And so my neighbors might be like, "Hey, how did you get a car in your yard, Roderick?" And I ain't worried about how it got in my yard. I want to know why it's there and where is the driver, right? Because that booger is still on the loose. And so those are things that we still don't try to pay attention to as the public, but it is happening. So just as much as a crash happened in Vegas, as they reported those things getting out, walking around, and if they was able to evade us, then they're still walking around. Okay. That's what I think we should be hiring everybody for. This is what we should have the swimming ducks, the Navy SEALs, the, whatever the, private rangers and, trackers and all that. We need to go find those things. We need to find them. And that's my opinion, when it comes down to that. But let's move on to other things here, I will say. So the other part of this is when we get down to what is happening and, what report the UAP sightings and do we want to report these things? And like I said, Sonia says, I think whatever was the family's backyard was cloaked and that it probably why it never saw it land and take off. I think I'm gonna agree with you, Sonia, on that. And that is my thoughts and sentiments as well, that it was cloaked. They were cloaked. They used their technology or they got it to working, right? After they failed, it was like, okay, let's they working on it. They got it to work. And if it took off, it took off. And it's not something we know about. So, but the remnants of the fact that it was on the ground, meaning it had an imprint, was enough to let us know that something was there. And you just can't make this stuff up. And again, when you look at that, whatever it was, that is not no 1 inch or a little bit circles. That ground is probably at least a few inches deep, around the edges of that thing, and whatever sat there is whatever it was. And so again, this is what they said was in it, and this is what they saw. Now, the tricky part about this, and I think the most interesting part, is the fact that I'm just going to point out, this is this for me, that regardless if they are aliens, if they are from another planet, they at least have 2 arms, 2 legs, some fingers, some foot, and the eyes and a mouth. And that goes back to something I've always said, is the fact that, we have things that, who made all of this stuff, right? Where we got people, or where we have, all of this stuff. I mean, where I'm going with this is we all have that same blueprint. I think we talked about that on a previous show: mouth, nose, arms, legs, and could we all be from the same creator source at some point? And that is something that we would probably discuss, but that goes into that pretty good. And I would be close enough to say that that's what it would be, right? And so, having said that, that could even give us what I call a little more sense of security, or sense of, that maybe the species is not that, they're aggressive. They're not, benevolent beings, you know what I'm saying? And so therefore we don't have to worry about that. But if they do take the notion of humans, in other words, some of that blueprint that's in us is in them, then we know they can be barbaric as hell. And therefore, the threat that is possible that something could happen is real, right? Because, all right, so that don't mean that they have advanced to a point where we think they have ascended or ascension, that they're not aggressive and everything else, because obviously they're afraid of us just as much as we're afraid of them, is why they hide and everything else. So anyway, first call. If there is anything that you want to share, put it into the chat. If you want to support tonight's show, and if you're finding any value or in the conversation, feel free to, go ahead and use our Cash App there. Monday, I just want y'all to know, Dr. Haynes is going to be here, and he's going to be here. Remember I tell you he's working with Project Black, and he's building the spacecraft. He's already have constructed a flying car, and we're partnering with him to really put some things out there. So we're going to start moving a little more toward Project Black. But anyway, he will be here Monday night. We're going to be doing lives on Monday, talking about the space, talking about spacecraft, talking about finding those planets and things. And you're going to really hear some scientific things. You can ask a lot of questions and really get to know this brother that has already patented things on flying cars. Actually, he built the first flying saucer type car in that technology. And to do that takes some real good technology, because you're not looking at any type of wings or any mechanism. And we do know that that's our technology right now. We don't have anything flying around that uses that type stuff. Well, anyway, so Monday, make sure you guys are and ladies and everyone definitely be available Monday at 8:00. And so we will definitely get to that right now. Let me answer a text here, right now. And okay, so anyway, all right. So with that being said, let's keep going with the conversation. Now, as we will do that, I'll give a shout out first. Let's give a shout out to Celeste. As y'all know, she supports the show. Make sure you support what she's doing and everything as well, and do that. Anyway, if you need a journal, make sure you get a journal. She got a lot of good journals. I actually got the one on the left. Actually, I got all three. But get those journals, man, and start writing some of this stuff down, especially what's going on in these communities, what's going on out here with our call high strangeness and everything else. But anyway, y'all give her support, give a shout out. You can go over to Amazon right there and find what you need from there. So anyway, as we get ready to move into another part of the segment of the show, we're going to get down into the title, which is everyone is talking about UAPs right now, except people that I know, right? And people that I eat dinner with. And I'm a little shocked about that. So we're going to get into that right now. So get ready. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about things that people don't want to talk about. And we're going to talk about that all right now. Yes. And let's get down to this. Okay. First of all, let's go with the fact that, like I started out in the interim of the show, and it's a repeat of what I said, we have UAPs in every part of the news. Everybody's talking about it. And we've all heard all the stories about people seeing unidentified flying objects, UFOs in the sky, whether these encounters are with pilots coming in close range, because you remember the FAA is now starting to put stuff in place. And I've said it and I'll say it again. I do not think we are ready for that type of disclosure. I'm telling you, I don't care how much we want to push the needle. That's one of the areas we don't want to play with, to find out what's happening in the sky. It's almost like eating your favorite food, right? You're eating the favorite food, and then you find out there's an ingredient in the food that you wouldn't have tasted if your life depended on it. You would never came close to it because it's not something that you would want to put in your mouth. But yet the finished product you have been eating and you think is great. What I'm saying is the finished product is air travel. We're doing it every day. Billions and billions of dollars is made through this commercial airline industry. And we want to sit here and keep pushing the needle to get them to reveal what some of these pilots have been seeing, what some of these people have seen out their windows, some of, because you got to remember, there was some TWA, there was some radio transmissions that got out through the FOIA Act where you hear those pilots calling to each other, hey, did you see that? Did you see this? Because see, up there in the sky is a highway and multiple planes can see each other, although they may be 50 miles apart, but in an open, clear sky and with the radar, they know where each other is. And when something flies in between, they all knows about it, right? And so we have had multiple releases of audio from some of these airplane pilots talking about UFOs and turning off instrument panels. Yeah, you heard what I just said. And this is the part that they don't want to play with because, again, we have had these things turn off instrument panels.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, what?
Instrument panels. And what I'm saying is that is something. Okay, let me bag up. All right. Those panels have not caused any planes to go down. Okay. So apparently that's not something for us to worry about. However, you're not the pilot that was up there flying the plane either. And your instrument panel goes off and you got 300 passengers that you're concerned about. And I don't think that's disclosure that we really want to know how frequent that happens at any given point. And the fact that it does happen. I don't think any of us really want to understand, and all of us, if you ever flown before, have been in an aircraft with that booger shake vigorously. And you and you hear those noise, boom, boom. Those are the seatbelt signs saying, "Come on, the pilot, come on." Okay, everyone, I just want you to know that we got a little turbulence on the next few miles in right now, but just put on your seatbelt, and once we clear through it, everything should be all right. But what if he had said, "Okay, everyone, we got a little turbulence because the UAP just came past our flight line here, and of course we missed them narrowly. But even though with the power that it had, it turned off our instrument panel. But because of my ninja skills and my training from Air Force Academy, I was able to sustain the plane from not going into any evasive maneuvers that would cause you any harm." What if that is now required? Okay, what if that is required? Do you want to know?
Hell no.
Of course you don't. I don't want to know. I don't want to know because I will be counseling all the rest of the flights. I'm not getting on the next one. You get what I'm saying? I'm not getting on the next one. And if I don't get on the next one and someone else don't get on the next one, and all of a sudden it starts a stampede of people going this way with their baggage, the economy goes crazy down. So, but over here, we still got people pushing the narratives. I gotta know. I need you to tell me. We need to know everything. So, are we sure? Do we want that type of information? So, we done talked about that before. All right. So, I just keep throwing it out there because I do think it's a travesty. I do think it's something that we need to be open-minded about as far as how far do we want to go when it comes down to this. And so I got a question for all of you, So if you were to get that information and if you were getting a disclosure pamphlet that said, hey, by the way, this is what's happening with some of these other planes and skies and blah, 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 would you get back on a plane? Yes or no? Regardless to the fact that nothing has failed. Yeah. Larry said, I want that kind of information. I'm not saying, okay, I agree with you. The curiosity of that information, Larry, is cool. But the realism of it is, if I could say that, if you're handed a brochure right before you get on a plane and they give you and said the plane in this flight plan that we're on our way on, keep, running into UAPs, you'd be like, no, I'm not getting on that. I'm not getting on that. All right. So someone else say you want to know. All right. That information is what is going to force 15 city. All right. I don't know. All right. So here's the deal. I don't think everybody kind of know So let me get into a conversation, and I'm just throwing some stuff out here. When it comes to UAPs versus UFOs, is there a difference? Of course, UAP, as we know, the greatness of Summer put it in here, is unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, or all types of what we call unidentified or unexplainable aerial sights. Is relative to a new term, right? Because researchers are only just now beginning to adapt what we call the scientific vernacular to say UAPs, right? So the first recorded use of this was in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence June 2021 report titled Preliminary Assessment. Y'all remember that, right? The unidentified aerial phenomena was the acronym, which was expanding from aerial, to anomalous. Okay. Of course, this was according to that report. I think it came out in 2021. Now, in that report, they was talking about over 500 UAP sightings have occurred since 2004. With almost 150 occurring within 2 years preceding the report, as though there was some jump. There was some reason that we're seeing more. Now, don't get me wrong, MUFON gets 300 a month, and I don't know why they couldn't gather some of that data. 3,000s and thousands of sightings per year, which were probably could equivalent in a 10-year span of that report, 30 and 50,000, sightings or potential sightings. Some undocumented, of course, people just filing the reports, but still, for them to come up with only 500, and maybe they have a criteria, what they call a serious sighting versus A sighting, B sighting, C sighting. I don't know, but whatever it was, there you go. Now, what does anomalous mean as we get down into it? Now, according to Webster, the dictionary, it says anomalous means inconsistent with or deviating from what is usual, normal, or expected, which will we call irregular or unusual. Now, I think this is where the scientific side came from, because if you know, one of the reasons scientists could not get behind the UAP or UFO phenomena, because it couldn't be a theory. It couldn't be something that was consistently happening at point A, point B at 2:30 p.m., right? So they can say, all right, if this keeps happening at this time, at this distance, then we can predict that the future, this is going to happen, because they were just all over the place. It was so random. And so therefore, they weren't going to get behind it. So again, anomalous mean inconsistent with deviating from what is usual. So it makes perfectly sense why that's now part of the term. And this is why we're using this unidentified anomalous phenomena, because they don't know. There is no consistent. These things are everywhere. This is why the show is called, everyone is talking about UFOs. They're everywhere. All right. And they're not just here and there. They're everywhere. And they probably have been everywhere here all the time, if that grammar makes any sense, right? So why we're saying this is why, okay, that's fine. We hear. Someone says, so technically classified as an unidentified flying object these days. Okay, so here's the deal. UAPs versus UFOs, once again, what's the difference? Let's go backwards. UFOs refer to flying objects that aren't identified through conventional means. Usually, these objects are speculated to be flying saucers or extraterrestrial aircraft, and usually associated with conspiracy theories and pop culture. Let me stop right here. They already knew the term UFOs meant this was an alien craft. You get what I'm saying? When we use the term UFOs, it's almost, we can now say for sure that it was an alien extraterrestrial craft, okay, flying saucer or something's in it. When they start converting over to UAPs, and now they're unidentified anomalous phenomena is because we are seeing things that are man-made. And they know this. They know some of the stuff that's in the sky is from multinational company or some kind of technology, so we ain't going to get into that dumb balloon crap because we already know that was man-made. It was no Asian. It wasn't, whatever. But yet they tried to put headlines, unidentified flying object or whatever, UAPs, whatever. So there's a huge inherent difference between the terminology and why they try to squeeze these things in. So obviously, I would probably have to agree with them that, okay, they're now trying to admit that we don't know what something is in the sky. We have no clue. Since we can't call it a UFO to be alien, then we have to call it an anomalous phenomena because it's moving. And what qualifies phenomena? Maybe because it's moving in certain ways that's realistic for our technology and way of life. It's doing things that we cannot imagine, right? Or we don't have the technology nor capabilities to pull off. And so therefore it's these classifications. So I want to say that we got to be a little cautious now. If they're trying to slip in this new name that, and I'm not saying we have been using it for years, but you get what I'm saying. And they're changing the acronym. Okay. It was area. Okay. So that means anything flying around in the area. So they quickly said, we need to change we got to change the vernacular of what we're going to say with this thing, right? We're going to change it from area to anomalous because once again, our dumbasses don't know what it is. And now we can't say what is happening because now we got so many things flying around. We have UAPs, we have UFOs, and we have whatever. Yeah, drones and all. Y'all get what I'm saying? So we got all these things flying around. It is crazy when it comes down to this and everything else. And so y'all know I'm going to have to get the joke on. Can somebody test my... I don't even want to say it, but it's up there. Test that thing. Anyway, it's funny. But anyway, however, UAP came about as a way to divert these sightings from stereotypical associations with UFOs and alien activity. Okay. Separating the human from the non-human is important as the government, scientists, and other professionals that work with UAPs aim to take more realistic and timely look at what exactly these strange sightings are. So this is done right in front of our eyes, folks. Okay. That means that we need to focus on what we read and not how they're putting this stuff out in the atmosphere or the narratives that they are using. We're so much still focusing on how they are saying these things instead of understanding why they're saying these things. So tonight was this information to get you to understand why. Why is there a difference in between them wanting us to focus on the term? Because if they ever said this was a UFO we saw, that is them saying, guys, there was an alien in that thing. And they don't want that to stay out there because there was a time due to technology, due to where we were, that there was only could be UFOs flying around because we didn't have the technology for some of the things that was flying around in the sky. They had to have been a flying saucer the way they moved. They had to have been some alien-driven craft the way they operated. You get what I'm saying? And now we have advanced in technology, and now we got other stuff flying around to, avert from saying, okay, this is some national security technology. Then we got to call it something else because they know. But I think that if we ever pay attention, and there were some headlines started hitting across the news, UFOs were seen, that is somebody's attempt to let us know that this is real. This is real, folks. This is not a drill. There's aliens in the sky. I have a strong feeling when we start hearing that message, if there was some sirens that went off, or somebody was trying to tell us that there's aliens somewhere in the sky, they're going to say UFOs. They have to. They cannot use the word UAP because it does not identify exactly what we saw. I know y'all might think I'm on the deep end. Who's agreeing with me right now? You know what I'm saying? Y'all get where I'm going. I got a little energy in this right now. I just want to kind of give you some talk. You know what I'm saying? Am I alone? Do y'all get what I'm saying? Is it possible inherent difference between UAP and UFO? And then we are now being jaded with the word UAP so that we won't really focus on the UFO, which is meaning there is somebody from another planet driving this thing. Now we got to keep saying UAP, so now we can use the word anomalous, or we don't really know what it is. Oh, maybe it's not alien. Oh, it could be some drug. The hell with that, because at this point, there's two difference, and they know it, and they deliberately change the narrative so they can blind us. What do y'all think? Celeste says, I believe the disclosure want to disassociate from the term UFO used by the crazies. No, I see the crazy has been what's the word I'm looking for, Celeste? The crazies have been vindicated, so that they know that goes out the window. Now they was considered crazies years ago. Vindication happened now, so they can't be trying that plan because the crazies are not crazy. They everybody know. The crazies told the truth. All the crazy, everybody who was dealing with this in the past, everybody who was ridiculed, everybody who lost their jobs, their wives, their husbands, their families, their friends, everybody who went into some type of solitary because they was being talked about and ridiculed again, and all of that have now been vindicated, right? They are now vindicated now that we are now, this is a normal conversation, and they are real. And so I don't think we have to worry about that part. You get what I'm saying? I think it's more that they have a true descriptions between the two. So if the term was going to be used among their peers, they know what the truth would be, right? So they got us focusing and keep using word again. Why would you change it in midstream? What necessary would it be, or necessity would it be for them to say, okay, we're going to go from aerial, and now we need to change to anomalous, and anomalous has a definition. And let me give it to you again. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, I wrote it right here. Anomalous mean inconsistent with or deviating from what is usual, normal, or expected, which is considered irregular, unusual. Okay, so inconsistent with or deviating from the usual. It's inconsistent, right? So they're like, oh, we just can't, we don't know what it is. So they have to tag it anomalous. Otherwise, we the people are going to say, if you don't know what the hell it is, then we're going to take our assumption and feel that it's not from this planet, it's not from this world. So no, we just need to give it a term. But I'm saying to y'all, if we ever headlines come across a fleet of UFOs have now entered our airspace, you better believe they're now talking about what we've been talking about for years. It has arrived, because they're not going to say a bunch of UAPs have entered our airspace, because that tells you we don't know what it is and we can't protect ourselves from it. And so, and I'm just saying it because they keep saying something is coming down the pipeline. Y'all been hearing this over the next several months, next year, and all this stuff. So I'm just want to be watching. I want everybody to be prepared. If you see the word UFOs coming across and the media start using UFOs, something is in those things. That's what it's all about. I'm telling you, that's what it's all about. They know it. And so without saying that, let's talk about this real quick. We're going to have a Black Friday sale. Check this out. Yep. So you can get to High Strangeness Apparel, which is up now, and you can hit it from your link below. Get you some swag. We got some High Strangeness swag there. We got some coffee shirts there for you, some things that we will send out and ship out to you. Some mugs, the High Strangeness Believe It. Go check it out. Even though you will see some of the stuff highlighted right below if you're on your phone, you can go into the shop store. But if not, go to highstrangenessapparel.com. Get your swag, support the channel, and definitely do that. We're going to be adding a lot of other stuff there as well. The next little bit thing I want to show real quickly is for those of you to spread the word. Spread the word if you want to call into the show and or leave your story. I talked to another lady yesterday and a couple of people about their high strange experience, and I'm still behind. I meant to load some of these audios up, and I'm still behind. I'm about to get it done, so you'll be surprised to do that. But anyway, it's a hit. Our 800 number is a hit, and people are using it. People are calling, and people are sharing their story. So real quickly, as we get back to part of the topic, what's the difference between the UAPs, UFOs, and like I said, however, UAP came about a way to divert these sightings from the stereotypical associations with UFOs, something celestial, missing, and alien activity. Now, by separating the human from non-human is important, as the government and the scientists and other professionals work with UAPs to aim to take more realistic and timely look at what exactly these strange sightings are. You see how they use the word strange. So it's no wonder why you see us rebrand the high strangeness. Because if they can't tell you what things are and they don't know what it is, then we got to assume it's some strange stuff happening out there. It's some stuff that's going on that we need to pay attention.
That was some strange shit right there.
Yeah, so we need to know, and it's going on every day, right off the bat. So here's the deal. Dan Evans, which is the Assistant Deputy Associated Administrator for Research, NASA's science mission, okay, said that NASA believes that the tools of science apply to the study of UAP because they allow us to separate facts from fiction. And that's all part of NASA's commitment to exploring the unknown and doing so with openness, transparency, candor that we're all accustomed to providing the public. BS. If you want to talk about BS, boy, that's some BS. Let me read it again. This is his quote, Dan Evans, the Assistant Deputy Associate Administrator for Research for NASA. NASA believes that the tools of science apply to the study of UAP, right? Because they got to call them unidentified anomalous phenomena. They know UFOs exist, but they will not tag their word or their thing because they allow us to separate fact from fiction. All right. I get it. I'm okay with that part. But that's all part of NASA's commitment to exploring the unknown and doing so with openness. Openness, really? Transparency, really? And candor, okay, yeah. And that we're all accustomed to providing the public. Yeah, right. Oh, boy, they got jokes, man. These people ain't playing. They're not playing when it comes down to this thing. I'm telling you. UFOs and UAPs, now we have two. You get what I'm saying? This is written here. They even separating the two themselves. And I'm telling you, we got to pay attention to that. It's happening right before our eyes. They have literally separated the two while we think they're just changing it because it's a stereotype. No, it's some truth in UFOs and it's non-truth in UAPs. Because they can't really figure out what's the other stuff. They know when it's a UFO. They know, they've been knowing this. They've been knowing it for quite some time. It's just that back then, that was all in the skies. So it was easy for us to say, okay, there was UFOs out there because ain't nothing else can move like that. Ain't nothing else around. But today, that's not the case. Today, there's a lot more stuff in the skies. And so they do need to put another classification. But why even now? This is written. This was just happened a couple of days ago. They just wrote this. UFOs and UAPs have been making headlines since the 19th century, with interest peaking in the mid-1940s with the UFO hysteria in the Pacific Northwest and continuing today. A recent whistleblower, David Grush, a former Air Force and National Geospatial Intelligence Agency intelligence officer, boy, that's like SHIELD, right? Whatever, told members of the House that he suspected that agencies aren't telling Congress everything they know about UAPs. You know, if I had to say something to this dude, I'll be like,
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That's how I would say it. Because they ain't telling us sugar, honey, iced tea. Not enough. They can care less. And there was a time that Congress didn't want to know anyway. Why? So what? They didn't want to know. And nobody wanted to associate their political career on the UFO stuff, which at that time was true because they were UFOs flying around with aliens in them. I'm telling you, because we didn't have those type of aircrafts back in the 1910s and 20s and 30s and 40s. So therefore, they was official, legitimate UFOs with aliens flying around in our skies. Okay, because anything else we could have known the propulsion. Now we got technology out of this world from crash retrievals and all those things. According to CBS News, Grush worked with various Pentagon task forces until early 2023 when he accused the military of misappropriating funds to shield these UAP investigative operations from congressional oversight. He also reported interviewing with people who knew of aircraft with non-human origins. See, those are UFOs. But the spokesperson from Grush's former organization is currently speaking out in opposition to these claims. He's saying the congressional hearings are presently underway with multiple Congress people speaking in hopes of legislation to regulate the dissemination of future UAP, UFO information. Yeah, see, you pay attention. This is written today or the last couple of days. They are cleverly putting both of those terms together because now they have figured it out. It is two separate things. Don't get confused anymore when you start seeing all of this UAP stuff. Watch when you see the word UFO. That's your signal that they know it's a craft. It was non-human or Earth, whatever, because UAP is still going to fall under anomalous. Okay. And that means it's inconsistent. They don't know what it is. They don't know where it come from or blah, blah, blah. But if somebody slips out and say UFO, I'm telling you, they saying it. And if they're going to put this thing in here now, C. Gray said NASA stands for never a straight answer. You got that right. David said UFO has a 70-year history behind it. And if you want to control the narrative, start with name. Yeah. And again, UFOs had that history, David, because they were real back then. And we didn't have things that extra stuff flying around that we don't know what it is today. You get what I'm saying? And so therefore it is there. It is there. If you hadn't had an opportunity and you want to support the channel, get a membership. We'll give you a shout out today. Make sure you do the Truth Seekers and above to have access to the audios and everything else, and pretty much. And so again, if you find value in the show tonight, you definitely can support us from there. All right. So whistleblowers like Grush popped up on the news feed from time to time, but what they say is often, unfortunately, dismissed as hearsay or attention-seeking behavior. And as the world navigates the difference between fact and fiction, for the debate, remember that neither the term UFO nor UAP implies what they try not to say, okay? It only means that we don't know what it is yet. And however, we know the truth for sure. Nothing is certain. All right, so now enough said there for a quick moment here. And I just want to go to the fact that we have, conversations about UFOs everywhere. That's why you saw the thumbnail and the title. Everybody's talking about them. I still feel that we don't talk about it enough in the indigenous and African American communities. And I still had not figured out the total reason of why. And maybe there's still some disconnect. But, it is something that I have put for quite some time. I've talked about it. I laid it low a little bit. I will be speaking, if you're here in Dallas, November the 11th or 12th, I think, on a Sunday at one of the MUFON meetings. And surprisingly enough, we're going to be discussing Project Black. I'm speaking in a conference in Oregon in April. Surprisingly enough, I've been invited to speak about Project Black. And I think that it is time and that things are getting to where they need to be. And it's been a heck of a ride behind the scenes, trying to organize, trying to put things together, losing sleep, trying to say, okay, how can we put our first event together? Oh, it's costly over here. It costs too much. And I just really got bogged down. But I think at the end of the day, the mission is still plain and simple. We do need to start the conversation. We do need to have these conversations and begin to get more stories, more information, and also bringing, like I say, some unusual things up forward, because the phone calls that I am getting, and most have been African-American people, have been telling their high strange stories, and not all of them are aliens though, right? Some of this stuff is deep. And so those things land to begin to go deeper into research and understanding that. But like I said, we're going to begin to move in that status. But the whole point right now is, I don't think you can show me. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some podcasts may bring it up in a humor fashion, and I think humor is good. I think if we can get something we can laugh about a little bit, not at the people, not at the experiences, and laugh at them, but let's try to figure out a global laughter of the phenomena itself, right? And so we can kind of talk about those things and see what's happening. And I think that'll be something cool to literally head down that path. But in the meantime, as I said before, but when it talks about it in the news, or like I'm in Dallas, so we got K104 radio, we got 107 different radio stations, and we're not hearing none of that stuff. You're not going to hear it. You're not even hearing David. I could test it and walk around and ask some people if they heard him here and see what they said. Boy, that wasn't good. Boy, that water. I'm like, what? I can't breathe. I'm choking. But anyway, I think in our community, we need to, hang on a minute. Let me get my breath here. All right, then. Boy, I need to sit in for that one. But anyway, all right, I'm still with y'all. Don't y'all worry. I'll cut that out. I know, right? Don't die. No, we good. Man. All right. So anyway, I think that we do need to, at some point, try to figure out how to create those safe places. And like I said, we're going to, my thought is to maybe put together some local get together, some event, or, where people can come around and, but surprisingly enough, I'm getting a lot of support from speakers, psychics, different people that is speaking in the community. I'm still getting a lack of people from the community saying, okay, hey, I want to share this information. I want to share more of this. I want to do this. And so we're definitely looking into that. And I think we can put things together. Debbie says, Roderick, I'm back in Florida. All right now. Okay. What's going on, my friend? It's been a while. We need to catch up. We will do so. And so, again, let's get now into, like I said, if you are anybody in the Dallas area, put in the chat if you in the Dallas area. Let me know so we can get to that in a minute. But anyway, so we need to get into a point to, like I was saying earlier, I almost lost my train of thought there, that UAPs, UFOs, two different terminology, and now it's time to how do it makes the news in some of these different communities? How do we get this into the communities to start the conversation? And maybe there's a way to conduct the satellite interviews doing the live. We could, we could do other interviews, just like we would do. Somebody can come on and talk and pretty much from there. So that is something we could do. But the most part, all I'm saying is just trying to figure out how to create that safe space where we can do and not so much separate the two from Project Black to what we're doing, but to take in account that it is time for us to move forward. So, like I said before, Monday, make sure y'all come Monday. Even though we're going to live stream, I'm going to try to live stream again Wednesday. I have a guest that's pending. I wanted to say it, but we need to figure it out. But and then Friday. But on Monday, Dr. Haynes would be here, and so we can definitely do that. Charles says, I am in DFW. Cool. Charles, find our email address, which is contact@whythebigsecret.com. Somebody can put it in the chat for me. Contact@whythebigsecret.com. Send me an email, send me your information, and then I'll reach out to you on my cell phone and let you know what we're going to be doing here. So we can do that. All right. Anyone else? Anything else we need to discuss? We're not going to stay too much longer. I'm just going to get in and get out. I thought it'd be a good time to talk about what we did just then. Definitely we could, put some stuff together and pretty much. And I want to thank each and every one of you who, supported the show tonight. And I want to thank you for doing that, which no one has, which we're okay. I'm telling you, the new plan is here. I'm just about as happy as a bullfrog. And the energy is going good. My juicing has been going good. And, got that sugar getting down a little more and more and more. And so, as you can see, I like it. But anyway, I'm just saying to you, at least get your swag down there in the chat, down in the bottom. You can get your mugs. You can get anything. Support the show. And we can do some great stuff from there. All right. So anything else we need to discuss before we get out of here? We've been here an hour and 20 minutes, which is cool. And I just wanted to touch bases with y'all tonight and there. So I'll look in the chat here. If not, we will get ready to close this show out and get in and get out and do some stuff. So, all right. So in the meantime, let me find our way out here. Okay, so here we go. First, it was a plum pleasing pleasure, as well as being here with you tonight, as always. Again, you could have been any other place tonight, but you chose to be right here, right now. With that being said, I want to say thank you for all of you that has been along with this journey as we have gone and changed and transformed and being in and out and doing things. I just want you to know it's getting better and will be great as always. I just want you to know that things are changing out there, if it makes any sense, so that you want to know what's happening and be careful to not miss the signs. There's rumors all over the place that people are saying that, yeah, something is coming down a pipeline, something is happening in 2024, and we're doing that. So definitely, I want you to be focused on what you hear and what is going on when it comes down to that as well. To my haters, as always, if you can hate me without knowing me, I can love you without ever meeting you. I have love for each and every one of you. But if you are a hater and you've been here week after week hating on me, then you're a fan. Welcome to the Truth Seekers. We're glad to have you here. And with that being said, much love to each and every one of you. Y'all stay strong, and we will see y'all next time.
Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shot that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint
And venture into the realm